Good morning, everybody. That's better. So, what are we going to be covering over the next 4 days? I think that there's always a better way to do something, and I very much like to go into things and look at things, maybe not reinventing the wheel, but actually question, is it the best way of doing things? And what you'll see over the next few days is a few little tweaks and things we've done to just investing in general that can vastly improve the profitability and your profit that you can make within property. So what we're going to cover over the 4 days, first of all, it's very much about why you're here, and I'm going to ask you that question. Some of you have been through the brainstorming session and we've gone through that to a certain degree. But we're going to go into more details about your actual why. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? I believe that when you finally understand your real reason, you can then access that memory of why you're doing this quite regularly, because property investing can be quite lonely sometimes. It's good with like the masterminds and network events, but does anyone know the theory about the crabs in a bucket? And that's every time one of the crabs tries to get out of the rat race, all the other crabs drag them back in. Okay, so hence being a lonely place sometimes when you've got the man in the pub every Friday night when you're going out, if you go out to the pub on Friday nights, saying, why are you doing this? Are you mad? And when there was a recession, it was worse than now there's a boom. We're then going to go into the 8 different ways of making money in property. What I want you to be able to understand is everyone actually happy with what they're doing and are motoring on at a comfortable pace?
No.
You're stuck, okay. Which is probably why you're here. Okay, now basically what's happened at the moment, and I see recession in the booms, and I've got a prediction. There will be another bust. There's a saying, when steak sales go down, sausage sales go up. Okay. Now the secret is to adapt to the current market. So when there's a bust, you're not necessarily working the same strategies as when there's a boom. But it isn't standard. It's not standard at all. Every town is its own unique micro market. And it's very important to understand, and I'm going to go into detail about how we can communicate about different towns in the country, so that we can talk about a town and go, that's a 3 out of 10 town, that's a 5 out of 10 town. And that strategy will work in a 5 out of 10 town, but in that 5 out of 10 town you need to find the 8 out of 10 areas. So I'm going to teach you a method we use that enable us to understand that. So yes, it's important to understand that when as we've come out of the recession and we've started to go into a boom, originally when the recession hit, it hit London very quick. It hit London first. But it bounced back out of it very, very quickly. In central London, kind of didn't happen. And then very slowly, it's recovered until now it's picking up pace again. But what's happening, it's like a ripple effect. It's kind of rippling across the country. So there's still places up north where the latest growth hasn't hit yet. Whereas London, we're hearing stories of property prices going up by £50,000 a month. On 400 or 500 grand houses. It's just, and the way they're selling properties in London at the moment is they're just getting 40, 50 people around and someone's offering 20, 30, 40 grand over price because they just can't buy anywhere. So it's very much supply and demand, isn't it? But that's not necessarily the case in Hull or Liverpool. So it's very important to understand that these 8 strategies are not necessarily going to work in every single town. And for me, I go through the strategies so you understand the strategies, and then you can choose the ones that appeal to you most. It might be that the strategy that you're running at the moment that isn't working anymore, you might just have to take that strategy to a different town or a different area. On the other hand, you might just decide that actually I'd much rather work in my own town, so I'm going to adopt a new strategy. So we're going to spend today going through these 8 strategies, and tonight, I don't call it homework, I call it home play. We're going to actually put a business plan together. So you come in tomorrow morning and you'll have time to go through everybody and read out your business plan, and you'll say, look, I'm going to be working strategy number 5 in this town for a period of time, and then when I've built up this amount of capital, I'm going to start working on strategy number 2 in this town. But you'll actually have a plan of action, because I think it's very important to have a business plan. So we'll go through them strategies today, and then we'll go through where they work, why they work, where. And I'll give you some formulas that you can put into the internet to see whether the town that you'd like something to work in will work. Okay. I kind of know most of them off by heart. So when you come in tomorrow and say, Glenn, I'm going to be doing strategy number 2 in town this, I might turn around and say, that's not going to work there. Let's rethink it. Because has anyone been on a training day or a training few days and learnt something and gone away and applied it only to find it doesn't work? And what tends to happen is people learn what works in their town and then they teach it. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in your town. Okay? Now I also like to press buttons. So I'll be very much listening to language patterns everybody uses. Okay? Because behind the language that you're using is your real intention. Let me use an example. I'm thinking about investing in property. Or I'm starting to invest in property next week and I'm looking at houses next week. Which one do you think's the more important one? Second, and it's very easy to use the first one. But really what you're doing, or how you talk to other people, is how you do your self-talk. Does anyone have self-talk? Yeah? Anyone got a little man on their shoulder? Sorry? Non-stop. Non-stop. Little man on the shoulder, or the little green parrot, whatever it is, that just keeps going, no, you can't do that, that won't work. Has anyone got that? Okay, so how you are talking to other people is really how you're talking to yourself. So if you're talking to yourself in non-productive language and you're thinking about doing something, well, guess what will happen this time next year? You'll still be thinking about it. Okay? So when we're having conversation, I'll be listening to the language patterns that you use. And it's quite interesting when we go around the room and we talk to everybody for 2 or 3 minutes. The first few people go, we kind of talk about their language patterns, but as we go around the room, the people that are last but one, are like, oh my God, I've got to remember what we said over there and what we said over there and all that. So it's probably easier to go first. Okay, but we will just go through, where you are, where you're trying to be, because part of the business plan is, look, you are where you are, and what I want you to do is decide where you want to be. What is possible, where do you want to be, and then the next 4 days will be joining the dots. Okay, so be choosing your strategies, getting the areas right for your chosen strategies, where to buy within your area. It's the micro markets. Every town is its own micro market, and every town has lots of different micro markets within it. Then we're going to look at a buying criteria. Who here likes spreadsheets? Come on, there's a few more of you. You're hiding in there somewhere, or who you're there. Okay, and who lives or dies by a spreadsheet? When you're thinking about buying property, you spend half a day deciding on whether to buy it by looking at spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet. I call you with great fondness the analysts. Okay. What I want to do is to introduce something that makes it much easier for you to work out whether you want to buy something or not, so that you can actually say to the estate agent on the phone when they ring you with a deal, Yeah, okay, I'll go and have a look at that. I'll take that. Okay, then they're not going to get anyone else around. You need to be fairly quick on your decisions. We're going to look at how much time you can allocate to your business. We're actually going to look down, once we've got a business plan, the second day's home play is to actually create a workbook, a diary. Who works with action sheet? List of things to do today, a to-do list. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to break it into from the goals at the top, the big goals that you've got, and break it down into 12 month, 6 month, 3 month, 1 month, 1 week, 2 week, 1 day actions that if you keep on taking actions, they will step you towards your goal. Okay. So we're going to make sure that for home play on the second day, you're going to come in with a daily, or if you allocate Wednesdays, for instance, as your property business day, you'll have an action sheet to be doing on every Wednesday. Everyone's going to be different as to the time they can allocate. The concept for me is to get you from where you are now. So the first step is what we call financial freedom, which means you've got enough money coming in each month passively to pay all your bills. That's when you can have the choice of giving up your day job. You know, some of you might already be there, but once you can do that, you can then concentrate full time on your business, and your business and your income every month, your cash flow will go up dramatically if you do the right things. Okay, so we're looking at there'll be a timeline as well that you can do all this in. So that's where we will be by the end of today. Tomorrow, as I said, we'll review your business plans. We'll look at what's working when it comes to marketing for deals. Okay. By the time you've got a plan, the different marketing strategies that we've got that work for different strategies, you'll be able to apply correct marketing to the strategies that you've chosen, and you'll be able to apply it in the correct areas that you've chosen within your micro markets. So we'll be looking at how to spot the demographics in your area for chosen strategies. And then we're going to start talking about, okay, we're going to do the marketing, but what happens when we do marketing? If you put a newspaper ad in, or you put leaflets out, what's going to happen? People will see it, and we're hoping that somebody might ring us. Who's done advertising newspapers before and done that sort of thing? Anyone here? Has anyone?
Newspapers, internet.
Okay. Has anyone not done a form of marketing which, when somebody rings, you never dealt with a phone call from somebody? So it can get quite, oh my God, the phone's ringing. I've done this marketing and the phone's ringing. What am I going to do? But we will talk you through the process that we use to take them from the price that they think they want to the price that you know you're willing to pay. And I call it my nibbling technique. Now, who here at some stage in their life were children? Is there anyone who wasn't a child when they were younger? So I know at some stage in your life you've all been expert nibblers, because kids are expert nibblers. Okay? My little one, before he got his own car, would very much say to me, Dad, is it alright if I borrow the car tonight? A couple of hours later, Dad, can I borrow 30 quid to go out with tonight? Yeah? And then when you give him the car keys and give him the 30 quid, is it alright if I stay out till 3 o'clock? Yeah? Did they ever come to you and say, can I borrow the car, can I borrow 30 quid, and can I stay out till 3 o'clock? They don't, do they? Because they know that they can ask for a little bit at a time, you're more likely to concede. Where's your mum? So it's the same with property. Now, if somebody rings up and says, oh, my house is worth 140, you don't just say on the phone, I'll give you 100 grand for it, take it or leave it. There's actually a process that we need to go through, which I call the nibbling technique, which will allow you to do deal after deal after deal, and at the discounts that we need. I'm going to talk about due diligence and the methods that we use to do our due diligence, and to make sure that you don't buy a wrong property. Who's heard stories of people jumping on a plane, leaving their brain behind, and going and buying something abroad as a holiday home? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And property finders finding properties for people, and the people never actually checking out the property, never even going over the look. You hear about it again and again. Some of you might have done it. I run a partnership program where I get a lot of people going out and finding deals for me. I split 50-50 the profits with them. I fund it, I put my money into it. There's no way, even like working with trained people, would I buy a house without going to see it. So it's kind of important to go out and actually see the properties. And understand about the due diligence. And there's just a couple of extra things that we do which I think will make all the difference to how you do your due diligence. We're going to look at a realistic time frame so you'll understand how long it's going to take you from where you are now to where you want to be. Okay, I'm going to time frame you from starting off with 0 and show you how from 0 you can get to an equity millionaire within about 5 years. Now, what do I mean by equity millionaire?
The difference between a mortgage and what it's worth?
Yeah, the difference between a mortgage and what it's worth. So somebody might have £4 million worth of properties, which they have £3 million worth of mortgages and £1 million of equity in the property. Okay, that's become an equity millionaire. Now, say realistically, starting off with 0, it's going to take between 4 and 5 years to get there. Okay. What about financial freedom? What about actually being able to give up your day job? We're going to look at the numbers that you need, how much you actually need to be earning in order that you can give up your day job. Okay? And you'll be very surprised that using certain strategies that we're going to go through, you can probably give up your day job within 3 to 4 months. Who'd like to be giving up their day job within 3 to 4 months? That was very quick. That was like, right, is anyone who's happy in what they do? Okay, so people that are in property already.
I should actually be where I should be at work now.
You should be at work now. Okay, you. Yeah, this is your new work. Okay, but it's fun. This is one big, real life game of Monopoly, and it's fun. If you do it right, it's very profitable. And you know, by having fun, you can't help but make money. Okay? It's just doing the right thing in the right area and keep doing it. Okay? So, you know, a realistic time frame which will allow. So, who here is actually looking at giving up their day job within the shortest period of time as possible?
Within 12 months.
Within 12 months. Okay. And I'll talk to everyone about. We'll have a conversation with everyone about their own circumstances. I'm going to share with you my story, what I call my get-ahead money, and the difference that makes a difference. And it very much links into the why that we share. Because I believe if you've got a huge why, you're far more likely to be successful. It's very easy to get stuck in what I call the comfort zone. And we'll talk about that as well, won't we?
We will.
So day 3 is when I start adding tools into your toolbox. Who's already dealt with estate agents here? We're having a lot of luck with deals out of estate agents at the moment. Okay, again, different market conditions. It's more difficult to get deals out of estate agents at the moment, and they get more arrogant than their normal arrogant. Okay, but there is the right way of dealing with them. So we're going to talk to you about that. We're going to talk about building record maps. We're going to teach you how to stop repossessions. Okay, so what's the least notice you can be given to stop a repossession? You probably wouldn't be able to stop one at 11 o'clock today, but you would be able to stop one at 11 o'clock tomorrow, just by knowing this stuff. Okay. So I'll be still talking about how to stop people's houses being repossessed so that you can have time to buy them. Very important thing is finding joint venture partners. Because what you need to remember is all the strategies I teach you, you may not necessarily have the funds to do it yourself, but I guarantee there will be people out there who would love to do this with you if you know what you're doing. Okay? So well, there will be people amongst you who've got time and no cash. There'll be people with time and a bit of cash. There'll be people with a bit of time and a bit of cash. Okay? And there'll be people with cash and no time. So I can help all of you. The only people I can't help are the people who've got no time and no cash. That's kind of just getting a little bit too much of a challenge, okay? So finding JV partners is very, very important. Now, who would like a strategy using JV partners where you can earn 10 grand a month without a penny of your own money? So most of you, but not all of you. It's always interesting, that, isn't it? Okay, we're going to talk about HMOs, but more about recycling your cash so that they don't actually cost you anything, so that it doesn't use any of your cash pot. It's so important to use your cash wisely, and I'm going to talk all the time about recycling your cash as quickly as possible. Okay. Taking advantage of the empty homes grant systems in the country. There are government grants out there for a house that's been empty for 6 months, where you can get a 20 grand loan to do a refurb, and probably you can buy the house for 20 grand. Okay? And the refurb will probably only cost you 10 grand or 12 grand if you do it right. So you're not going to be leaving a huge amount of cash in the boxes. And providing they value up at over 40, 50 grand when you've done it, you can then recycle and get your cash fully back out. And then day 4. Oh, by the way, day 3, those of you that want to join us, we'll be going out for dinner in the evening, and then we normally go back round to my house and have a few drinks. And then on Sunday, you're all nice and chilled and kind of hungover, and that way when I talk to you, you just sit there and don't ask me any questions. Okay? Because day 4 is head mess day. All right, day 4 we're going to talk about some weird and wonderful stuff that we've done. Who likes the idea of buying a house for 300 and selling it for 280? And making £250,000 profit. Okay, I've just left that bit off to the end. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I bought a house for 300 grand and I sold it for 280, and how I'm going to make £250,000 profit out of it. Okay. Just by doing things different. I'm going to share with you how we can take the bank's money, add a bit of magic money to it that doesn't really exist, but it does, but it doesn't. Okay, how would you like to charge interest on money that you haven't given anybody? Actually physically given it to them, but charge them interest on it and then pay you interest every month on the money you haven't given you. Added to a chunk of cash that you've got from somebody else's bank at, let's say, 2%, and selling it on to somebody else at 5 or 6%. So you're taking the bank's money, adding some magic money and charging interest on it. Okay? So we're going to talk about that. Who likes the idea of having lots of pension money coming in? Okay. We're going to look at who'd like to swap £1 for £250,000. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. Yeah, there's all sorts of interesting stuff we're going to be sharing with you on day 4. Mini mansions. Who likes the idea of not buying something for 800 grand but controlling it and selling it for 3 or 4 million and making £1 million profit, but it not costing you any cash flow, not putting any money in? Everyone's starting to wake up now. But day 4 is the fun day, okay? But it is head mess day. So I have people that have been on our 4-day course 3 or 4 times, and I have people that come back to day 4 very, very regularly. You'll see, have we got anybody coming this time on day 4?
We've got Justin, we've got Richard, and somebody else is coming.
Okay. Justin's been on my training for quite some time, and he's one of my 58 equity millionaires. He's coming back again for day 4. It must be his 4th or 5th time. Ian's here for, I don't know how many times you've been.
Lost count. I'm just part of the furniture.
Okay, and we'll share with you Ian's story and what he's doing here later on. Very briefly, Ian got to, several years ago, a £10,000 cash flow with his property and went on holiday for 4 years. No, he went on holiday for 4 years, having systemised his, but he'll share with you later on. And then he come back and thought he better to get on and do something else.
Like something.
Like something. Okay, we're going to talk about sale and rent backs. Title splitting. Who likes the idea of buying a house, splitting it into 2? And I bought a house for 90 grand, spent 30 grand splitting it into 2. So how much does it owe me? 120. Okay, just had them valued at 135 each. So who'd like some of them? And again, it's the right properties in the right town. They're out there in the right towns within the right micro market within the town. They're there waiting for you. And we're going to talk about micro flats. So, and there's probably a few other bits and pieces that we'll be covering over the period. If any of you got any challenges, any deals you're stuck with, please feel free just to ask as we go along. I do the days in like what I call a horseshoe. So that if there's anything you want to ask as we go through the 4 days, just ask. Okay? And I'll either answer it there and then or say, look, we'll be covering that on that day or that day. Alright, so it's designed to be totally interactive.
I think what Gwen's really saying there is sometimes we don't run to time, do we?
No, we don't necessarily run to time.
If there's questions, the questions will all be answered before we get.
Yeah, the schedule might shift. Some days might take longer than others. But we'll make sure that by the time you go home, you go off. Oh, the other thing that I haven't got on there is when we're dealing with estate agents, whatever strategy it is you decide on, we'll be giving you marketing messages on Saturday morning, so you need to come in with your laptops, okay? And we'll be emailing them to somewhere around about 70, 120 estate agents. And your phones will start ringing. And it's always the shyest person in the room whose phone rings first. And I'll let you answer the phone in front of everybody and have the conversation. But it's all right, because normally you're only about 5 minutes into the conversation and everybody else's phone starts ringing. It's designed. Who's been on a program for a day, 2 days, whatever, and gone back and put their course notes on the shelf? And they're still there. And for the first week, you meant to go back and get on with it. And for the second week, the intention you still meant. Do we know where we're coming from on that one?
Yeah.
Well, I like going, right, there's the deep end. Get in. Okay? So we will send out the messages, and I will be helping you press the button if anyone's sitting there looking at the send button going, we'll make sure that they go out and you'll have appointments. So we're going to chuck you in the deep end, but we'll be teaching you over the next 4 days how to deal with them. And through our mentoring program, the mastermind program that we run, we hold your hand through the whole process. So there's never any need to worry about not knowing what to do with something, because there's nearly always a way of doing stuff. Okay. Right. So let me ask you a question. Why are you giving up 4 days and a bit of cash to be sitting here with us. Why have you come for these 4 days?
Really having the lifestyle choice, you know, it's with your friend over here, he's been able to choose what you want to do with your life instead of, you know, always having to...
So for choices?
Yeah, really, and it's for the family, you know.
Okay, so that's the why behind the reason. Okay, anyone else? Why are you here?
I'm here. I have few properties. I'm worried about interest rate.
Okay, so there's a challenge. So what do you want to get out of the 4 days?
To tell me that don't worry about the interest rate going up.
Okay, so why?
Because I think that it's an artificial worry.
Okay, yep.
But
so,
I don't know the solution.
But why are you here?
To find a solution.
Why do you need a solution?
Because I'm worried.
Okay.
I want to hear from somebody.
Anybody else? Why are you here?
Yeah.
So last couple of years I've been, you know, trying to find something different, but trying to find something a bit more long term than just, you know, I'm a bit sick of working away from home and that all the time. I want to find something
So
a bit
you're
more
here because
stability.
you need more money?
Well, more money, but different career change.
Yeah.
Completely learn something new.
You've come here because you want more money, yeah? For whatever the reason, okay? The reason you're here, and is there anyone who's come in, it's not because you want to find more ways of making money?
Part of the reason.
It's part of the reason, okay.
So for me, it's more about finding ways of earning money without exchanging your, in return for time.
So it's to do things better.
It's to get an income without having to exchange it for a unit of time.
Yeah, okay.
Basically.
So you've come here to find out a way of earning money better?
Yes.
Okay. Because
Challenge also.
it's the challenge, yeah.
There's a serious kind of intent in terms of making lots of money and stuff, but there's also the self-development and challenge.
Okay, so there's a self-development and challenge. The bottom line is, and this is what I want you to get to, and I just want you to take a few minutes with, I think it's really, really important that you understand your why. Okay? Yeah, you're all here because you need more money for whatever reason. Okay? What is that reason that you need that more money for? Because if you think about it, that is your why. And I know that people get into their comfort zone, okay? You get into your comfort zone and it's very hard. It takes a big push for you to get out of a comfort zone. It might be that your comfort zone, you're earning £5 a month. But you've got to actually make a very big effort to get out of that £5 a month and earn a bit more because you're actually comfortable with £5. Now, it'd be great to have 15 or 20 grand a month. But, do you know what? I'm kind of all right where I am at the moment and I just can't be asked. If someone close to you was told that they needed a life-saving operation and it was going to cost 100 grand, in fact, there was a breast cancer thing just released that 6 months, it can prolong someone's life in the last stages of cancer by 6 months. And it costs 90 grand. Okay? And the government aren't going to give it to people because they don't think it's worthwhile. If you needed that 90 grand, you'd find a way. Okay? Because your why is big enough. And when your why is big enough, you'll find a reason. You know, some people come to me and go, Glenn, I really need to get on in property. And I'll say, why? Well, I've just been made redundant. That's a big why. So let's look at your why. Why are you really doing this? And I'd just like you to take a couple of minutes to actually write that down into the book as to why you are. And then what I'm going to do is ask you to share it with somebody else. Okay? So let's just take a few minutes to do that. Okay. So, what I'm going to do, if you can go and stand, if everyone stands up, go and find somebody that you probably haven't actually spoken to yet. If you come together, don't work together. So find somebody, go and share, got about a minute to tell them what your why is and a minute for them to tell you what their why is. So how does that feel, talking about it?
Good. Yeah. Well, it's real. It's out in the air. It's no longer up here.
Yeah, and it helps to write it down and it helps to share. And the more times you share it, it's not something we normally share, is it? So what I'm going to do is to go around the room, but I'm going to start listening to the language patterns that you're using when you talk about your why and your goals. And we'll have a conversation about your language patterns. Okay? Now, who has heard of the law of attraction? Who believes in the law of attraction? Who's not heard of the law of attraction? And who that's heard of the law of attraction thinks it's a load of rubbish? I'm glad there's always a couple, okay? Do you know, I never used to believe in the law of attraction. I thought it was just a load of rubbish.
What is it?
What is the law of attraction? When you actually can visualise things happening to yourself and you actually create what I call like a dream board, okay, somehow the mind finds a way to make it happen. Okay? And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason, but the number of times, the number of people I've spoken to that have said, I did a dream board and I looked at it every day for a few months and then it kind of got put to the back of the cupboard. And I've just got it back out again. And like, do you know what? Nearly everything on there I've now got. Because when the mind can see something and it's put in front of you all the time, the mind kind of finds the route to market, finds the way to have it. Okay? And the law of attraction is a very, very powerful thing. Let me just introduce Ian. And Ian, do you just want to give everyone a bit of your background so that they know
Sure.
sort of, where you've come from?
Sure. I built a portfolio in 05-06 in 2 years, £5 million portfolio, traded another £3 million of property. It was cash flowing £10,000 a month, hands off, so my partner and I retired to the Caribbean for 4 years. And but which was nice. It's what I thought I wanted, but actually it isn't. It's a bit boring, actually.
Has anybody heard the expression, a man's reach should far outstretch his grasp?
Yeah, I read it earlier.
Do you know what that's all about?
It's because if you haven't got something else to be striving for, when you reach it, there's kind of that anticlimax where it's, well, I've got it now and I haven't got anything else to keep going
You've
for.
nailed it. I've spoken to quite a lot of Olympic athletes who've won gold medals. And the day after they've won, or a couple of weeks after they've won their medal, all of a sudden they get hit with this big low. It's like, what's it all about? You know, I've spent the last 5-10 years building up to this moment. I've done what I set out to do. And that's why I think it's always important to have goals. And to understand that the goals keep moving. You know, if your goal is to get £3 cash flow, soon after it will become 10 grand. Will become, and I look at it as what I call horizons. Because how do you cross a desert?
You keep looking at the end, it's always
How do you actually cross a desert? One step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One mouthful at a time. So if all of a sudden you start off aiming for there, it's all a bit daunting. So it's good to break it down and have like stages. Okay, it's good to have stages, and then you can actually feel yourself achieving the first one, feel yourself achieving the next one. But unless there is another one, what's it all about? And Donald Trump's dad said to him, if you're trying to get rich doing something you don't enjoy, you'll get fed up with it before you get rich. However, if you do something that you love doing and you make sure you monetize it, one day you'll just wake up and go, bloody hell, where did all that money come from? Okay? Ian.
That's exactly my experience. I come from a very poor family, a very small financial situation, and my mum was a checkout operator, my dad was a TV repairman, and my next target is to take my business to 100 grand a month. That's how I'm looking at 10 times, and I would never have imagined that had I not been able to start off at the smaller horizons. But the thing I wanted to share was, I got a ride in Glenn's Lexus once, and it's a 100 grand Lexus, and I'm just thinking, man, one day that would just be the sweetest thing, and just to go near it was a privilege, just to look at it, then to sit in it, then to actually have a drive in it, and this was a very powerful experience for me. Actually, I consider myself not a shallow person, but this was quite a transformative experience. You got to try this car, and then so there we were at the goal setting in January, and I was just challenged. Well, why are you limiting it? Just what do you want? And I was like, well, I want Glenn's car. I want that car. And 6 weeks later, I was driving that car. Because the mind found a way to make it happen. It just does. It just makes it happen. But I was limiting myself, but by being in this environment and being challenged and pushed and growing myself, the mind made it happen.
We had another very interesting experience recently, and we were actually in the gym. Ian came to the gym with me a couple of weeks ago. And the personal trainer, I know Ian doesn't mind me sharing his story, the personal trainer turned around, Ian, we were doing several circuits of about 8 different things, and we were doing 20 reps of each one. And Ian got to 17 reps on the 3rd time round and went, I've done really well. That's okay, I've done 17. And I said to him, Ian, I said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. How's it going to feel walking around for the next few days with me going and telling everybody that you stopped at 17? And my personal trainer said, Ian, there's no growth in the comfort zone. Think about that. There's no growth in the comfort zone. And however, there's no growth, there's no comfort in the growth zone. So just get on with the last 3.
And then I did. And it was Glenn pointed out to me, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that was just a mirror to myself. Am I going to be happy living 17 out of 20 for my life? Or am I going to push that last 3? That's where really all the pain was, but actually that's where all the growth was. And it was a really growthful moment, especially when I was trying to do press-ups with my head because my arms wouldn't work anymore.
And has anyone ever done this exercise with weight? It's quite difficult after you've done a certain amount. My personal trainer called him a gay pterodactyl because he was kind of going on.
But it's great to be in that zone. It's great to be at the point where that is giving it the most, because that's how Britain won the Tour de France. That's how Olympians win their game. That's how property investors succeed, is by going to that place that they didn't know they had until they put themselves there. So it's just such a great analogy.
Yeah, I mean the actual British team, changing the subject, the British cycle team, most people train until they feel the burn, don't they? And then stop. What the English team or the British team started doing is they get into the burn, and the coaches were saying, right, that's when the training starts. Yeah, let's get to the burn and let's start. So a lot of it is just rejiggling your minds and thinking in a different way. Thank you. Right, so let's go around and talk. Who'd like to go first about, have a volunteer about where they are now, where they'd like to be, and their why. So start off with their why. And we're going to have a volunteer, Mandy. And what I'd also like you to do, encourage you to do, is the things that are on your, in your head, in your why, to actually find pictures on the internet. And to create just a folder on your laptop and put all these pictures in and then play it on a slideshow whenever you get the chance. Again, who's heard of the expression, I don't like this expression, but it actually kind of gets the meaning of what I'm trying to express over. Who's heard of fake it till you make it? Okay, why fake it till they make it? Most successful people kind of fake it till they make it, don't they? Okay, because what's happening, it's again the law of attraction stuff, it's kind of happened in the head. Now, it used to drive my wife absolutely mental, because we'd be having a conversation with somebody and I'd be going, Ian, do you know what, I've now got to 30 properties. And we'd come away from that conversation and my wife would go, Glenn, you keep doing it. Why do you keep doing it? We've got 20 properties, not 30. Why do you say 30? And I go, well, yeah, we've got 10 deals going through at the moment. So we've got 30. And you kind of, again, it's your brain is just connecting all the bits that need to connect to actually make it happen. And one of the best ways of doing it is to think of where you'd like to be, take yourself forward in time, and talk about getting there, rather than starting from now and talking about wanting to be there. Okay? So talk about your goals, your why, as though you've achieved it, and talk about how you've achieved it. Okay? And Mandy could not, she's been on the programme several times, she could not get through into her head, if she's talked about now, about what she wanted to do. I'll let you share with everybody.
Yeah, because if I started to explain it from today, I could never take out I'd like to, or explain it that is what
So
was
the word
happening.
Patterns were incorrect.
Yeah, totally. So we changed it, so as I started off in 2019. So it's December 2019 and I'm in Canada. This is my why. So my why is travel. So I'll pass it around. That's my dream board and that's the reason that I'm moving forward, because my whole why is travel. So it's 2019. I'm in Canada. I've got the whole family out with me, and we're sat in front of a log fire, ready for Christmas. Tomorrow's Christmas Day. We've been out on the snowmobiles, and everybody's just coming in, and they're all warming. And I'm looking back over the last 5 years, thinking about how I got here. And I've spent the last 3 Christmases in this log cabin. But in 2018, I took 3 months out and toured around the whole of Australia and New Zealand. And in 2017, I did the same thing, took 3 months out in the winter months and toured around the whole of Asia. In 2016, I took 3 months out and did the whole tour from South America all the way up and right into Canada, which was where I ended up in the log cabin for Christmas. 2016, I'd spent most of my time touring around Europe, and this all started in 2014, when in September I went to see Mitsubishi, which is the lost city in Peru. And that was the start of my adventure and the start of all my reasons why. I'm an investor now. Due to my circumstances, I'm financially free. I live in my HMO because I want to travel. But in 2014, I came along, which is why I came along to Armstrong, because I needed to learn how to buy the right way. I'm not saying what I did was wrong. I stumped myself, so I still have my money in them, but I didn't buy the right way because I didn't manage to get my money back out and continue buying. So the reason that I am here and have been here is to make sure that anything that I buy from now on is the right way, and I'm not leaving any money in them.
Okay, thank you. Now, do we believe her? Okay, because it's very easy to turn around and say, yeah, do you know what, this is my why, and I'm thinking of doing this because I'm thinking about doing this and I'm thinking about doing that. And then I'll ask you all, did we believe them? And guess what the answer will be? So it's easier to actually imagine yourself in the position of where you want to be, talking about how you got there. Okay? And your brain finds ways to make it happen. And over the next 3 days, I'll be giving you all the information that you need to be able to make it happen. Okay? So.
Hi. I guess from my point of view, the major why, I've broken it into soft and hard. The soft why is challenge and financial freedom. And the more hard, and I'm kind of looking at it a little bit more negatively, is the challenge that the lady mentioned earlier on in terms of interest rates. That's an issue for me, and job security. That tied in with my current situation in the sense that I have a portfolio of properties, but I got seriously stung in Europe, and because of that I need to find a way to move forward from that. Interesting in terms of the visualization, I do, it's not nearly as elaborate. My visualization is a Kubota lawnmower, ride-on lawnmower. Because when I have that will be parked beside my Range Rover in my 3-bay garage in my 6-7 bedroom house.
Okay. Do we believe that?
Yeah.
We do, yeah.
All I've got to do is make it real.
Okay. Say that in a slightly different way.
I see what you've done, yes. I will make it become real. Okay. I will make it real.
Thank you. Malcolm.
I came to an event with Glenn a couple of weeks ago and shared my why then. For 29 years I was a church pastor, and then my church organisation got into financial trouble and several of us were made redundant, which included me. I've continued my passion for ministry, but the reality is I've not had a regular income for 4 years. And I'm in the process of helping one of our churches acquire a building. I understand about having the dreams and visualising, because I visualised that we would have more tenants in that building when we actually took it on. And we're in the process of acquiring 3 more tenants this week, so that when the church does take it over, they will have enough income to survive, because the congregation couldn't cope with that. I'm in the process of learning how to work within the property business so that I can have an income, put aside money for my retirement.
And now say it in a slightly different way and tell me that you're going to do this.
Okay, I'm trying to say I'm in the process of doing it.
Yeah, but say you're going to. Yeah,
I'm going to.
Right,
yeah,
so you're mid-journey, yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's...
talk as though the end's there.
Okay, yeah, I'm in it. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I'm here because I want to learn the strategies to apply and just get on with it and achieve, so that I'll have, to begin with, I need an income right now. I'm after an income of $5,000 a month.
Okay, and that's what I'm going to ask you after. Once you understand what your why is, I'm going to then ask you to work out how much money you need to fulfil your why. Because when we come to do the business plan, I think it's important that the business plan actually takes you from where you are now to a specific cash flow. So you see how we're working backwards from this is my why, this is how much I need for my why, this is what I'm going to do to achieve my why, this is the time I'm going to allocate to it on a week-to-week basis. That's the process of today. so that when we come in tomorrow, we'll know what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be doing it, where we're going to be doing it. Okay, thank you.
I love challenges and the rush of adrenaline. And because of this, I love to feel alive. I'm looking to work towards providing for the family, for the future.
Do we like them words?
Okay.
Say that bit again.
I'm working to provide for the family for the future, to secure choice, to spend my time with the family, split between South Africa and the UK, and I'm here to learn to work smarter, not harder.
Okay. So when do you want that to happen by?
It's an evolving process that will continually go on until my dying day.
Okay. Which is a bit of a waffly answer, isn't it? Yeah. Move yourself forward. Tell me what date it is, and tell me that you're in South Africa.
It'll be 2015.
No, tell me it's now 2015.
All right, it's now 2015. I'm in South Africa. I'm searching for one of a series of properties to which I will spend my time here during the cold periods in England.
Okay. Do we believe him now? Okay, thank you.
I don't think I've done this before, have I? I'm Steve. My why is very much a series of different elements, so whether it be family, others, and personal. So, I mean, my ultimate why is to... This is difficult. It's to help others in medical, basically. I mean, my history is very medical related, kidney transplant, things like that. And I want to help, well, I'm going to help, whether it be build facilities or finding cures for things like that. So, this, not sure how to word and how to say it. It's now 2025, and I'm sitting on the top floor of one of the buildings I've created in researching not only medication but facilities and cures for cancers, renal failure, and other type of serious illnesses. And I got there this morning by driving my white Ferrari into the car park, and yeah, this is me at the moment.
How'd you feel?
Pretty good and quite hot in here. Yeah, it's strange. I'm done. That's me.
Do we believe him?
Yeah.
Okay, Ian.
That was very powerful. Well done. You did great. Hi everyone, I'm Ian. Within 10 years, I want to achieve what Glenn has. Glenn continues to be an amazing friend and an amazing inspiration, and he's shown me so much that I didn't know I could do in my life, and he continually pushes the boundaries of what's possible, and I'm forever grateful for that. So
Now tell me it's 10 years' time.
So in 2024...
No, not in. It's
now. 2024, and I'm looking back on 10 years of amazing friendship and achievement and growth, and I have a villa in Portugal. I have 4 cars sitting on the drive. I
have a successful business which is 10 times larger than it was 10 years ago, and it's been a wild ride. It's been living fully, absolutely living fully. There's no regrets. There's been difficulty, there's been challenges, there's been head press ups. there's been some pain, but there's been a good strong why. I've seen my dad live his whole life with limitation. I've seen the effect that's had on my mum. I'm busting through that. I don't know if any of you remember that scene from The Matrix where Morpheus is all kind of wired up by the agents, and he just has to break through to make it for the helicopter. That's me. I'm just feel like I'm not. But I actually love that process. It's that force within me that compels me to grow. I've tried being retired in the Caribbean for 4 years, and actually it's quite painful. It's comfortable, but it's also quite painful because there's no growth, and I have to grow. So my deepest why is I have to grow and enjoy that. So
Ian actually came back from there and came and joined us with the next goal of that you had at the time was to get from a 10 grand cash flow to a 20 grand cash flow. That was your goal when you came back from your...
Yeah. What I didn't know is that it was going to take me, it took me quite a while to regain my momentum. So because I'd...
Sat in your comfort zone and didn't do nothing.
Sat in my comfort zone. So that's been a very... so I've been doing stuff, and I've got stuff happening, but it's all good.
You've got one very interesting deal going on at the moment where you're buying an HMO that cash flows 10 grand a month and is actually buying it from out of itself. Does anyone know how Bill Glazier bought Manchester United? He actually had the cash to buy it, so he bought it, but then he borrowed a load of money out of the asset of what he bought and paid himself back what he paid for it as a loan. But he paid for it, he gave himself the money back out of the company that he bought. Yeah? So it's what I call actually buying something out of itself. And Ian's doing exactly that with this property. You just want to just very briefly explain an overview on how we've structured it.
It's a 21-room HMO in Eastbourne. When I first saw the deal through an agent, they called me and said, you might be able to do something with this because we can't. We think it's bricks and mortar 840, but the vendor wants $1 million because he wants to retire. So I said, well, set up a meeting and I'll see what he wants. So I said,
you know that there's a different value. The banks will value property in different ways. One way they'll value it is bricks and mortar valuation, but another way they'll value it is on the cash flow as a business. So that's why he was trying to sell it, because the cash flow was very good. That's why he had it up on the market for $1 million. So we spoke about it.
And we structured it in the way that the lending is approved. So I'm looking to tie this up next week. The lending is approved at 750. The purchase price is $1 million, because on an income basis, that's a commercial type valuation. This has valued up. We've got the valuation, and so then the deposit I put in, and then legally and legitimately, the vendor then grants me a loan. They actually then lend me a figure equivalent to the deposit that I've put in.
250 grand. So the bloke walks away, because what did he want? We looked at his why, what he wanted to do, and he wanted to build a development in Thailand and go and live in Thailand. So he's now, by giving him £1 million for the property and him lending in 250, it gives him an income each month off of his 250 that he's lent in, and it gives him the 750 grand that he needs to go build. Okay? So it gave him what he wants. It's a win-win. And Ian's paying him back the money out of the cash flow. So he's actually paying him back his 250 grand out of the cash flow that the HMO makes.
And it'll still cash flow, even paying him back, it still cash flows a couple of grand from day one.
And after a certain period of years, and he is paid back, it'll then cash flow you 10 grand a month profit.
by which time it'll be worth a lot more, and I can refinance it, and or let the loan degrade over time.
There's always a better way of doing stuff.
If interest rates go up, my loan goes up, but I've got other funds, and I think that this is a good proposition rent-wise, and I'm going to run the whole building as its own business from its own bank account, so it'll build its own funds. I'm not going to spend any of the money from it, so I'm not going to see any of the benefit. Yes, I can say, oh, I've just added £2,000 to my cash flow. In 10 years' time, maybe I've added 10 grand to my cash flow, but right now I'm just making it grow itself so that it's stable in 10 years' time, so there's no risk.
Now, the bank loan is how much a month?
The bank loan is, well, it was 3,300. That will have gone down now.
It's now 5.2%.
Now 5.2. That was at 5.95. So it'll be 2 something a month. But in terms of actual capital sum, well, the bricks and mortar value is 840, but this is a licensed HMO. It is income successful. It is fully occupied. It is generating 108,000 a year. So therefore, it could be sold to another investor. But if the lender takes the bricks and mortar vacant possession value and they just put it out to an auction because I couldn't pay, then they would get 840 for it. But I've only got 750 on it, so that's not a problem. And the vendor's stake is insured through Lloyd's of London, so he knows he's going to get his money. He's got his million. If everybody
Ian
gets
was
what
to
they
go
want.
bust, he's taken out a policy that pays Ian through the solicitors who are actually doing this transaction. You just need to understand how to do the stuff. The seller can actually take insurance out against Ian going bust.
Now, you don't all need to worry about how to do that, because you just need to be in the game. You just need to go fishing. When you catch a fish, you then ask Glenn, how do I land this fish? And he'll guide you through it. So you don't have to worry about that.
He helped you out, did he?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where mentorship comes in, because then you get access to Glenn on a daily basis. You've then got the weekly webinars, you're tied in, and you need that. You don't want to walk away from here and just have that as, oh gosh, I'm now on my own. You want that constant contact with Glenn, which is going to be the difference that makes the difference, because you don't know what you don't know until you get out there and you try and put all this into practice. There's no way that you can put it all into practice. You need, how do I do this now? How do I solve that? How do I solve that? And you'll constantly see it solved in a way that you never imagined possible. It's been an amazing journey.
I have lots of people come up with different scenarios. Normally manage to find a way around most things. If there's a deal there, we'll find a way and we'll structure it in a legal manner that everybody's happy with.
There's just one question you've got to ask the vendor. What do you want? And that's all I did that was different to everyone else on the high street. When the agent said, oh, we just can't seem to, can you help us? You might be able to do something. I just sat in front, a cup of tea, eyeball to eyeball, and just said, what do you want? And he's like, Ian, I'm old. He says, I'm 74. I've done this. I want to be in Thailand. So how are you going to do that? What's going to happen in Thailand for you? I want to build a block of flats and manage those. So how are you going to live? Well, I need some monthly money. What do you need? How much do you need? And we started to put it together, and I came to Glenn, and Glenn, this has got this deal. What do you think?
And what's the numbers? What's he want? It's always about what they want and what the numbers are.
Exactly.
Okay, it's a little bit hard to follow on from that. But it's 2016, and I'm on my Harley going through Scandinavia. It's now going 2017. I'm visiting all my family. All my family live out in New Zealand and Australia, and I'm building up a portfolio that's adding to the portfolio I've got in the UK. But I'm there, I'm helping out with the barbecue, and I'm spending time with the family.
Okay.
I came here, I'm quite content where I am.
So you're in your comfort zone?
I am. But you make me feel I must want something. As I mentioned before, I can go on purchasing and investing in properties. I have this problem with the mortgage. What will happen when interest rate?
So it's the fear of the unknown?
Yes.
Okay.
Where I want to be? I would like to be sitting in Miami with my yacht in front of me.
It's all very well liking to be.
Yeah,
Let's tell us in a different way.
I am. The yacht is in one of my parking zones. Enjoying the sun and thinking how I started the rolling this freedom when I came to Glenn Armstrong's course.
What we will need to do straight after we've gone around the room is to actually look at how much cash you need to achieve your why. Okay. Then we can look at the strategies, because each strategy there'll be a realistic amount of money you can earn from it, and we'll look at that, and you'll match up which ones match for your goals that you're striving for. Okay. And we'll come up with a plan to get you to your why. And then over the next few days, we'll just give you all the tools that you need to make it happen. Okay? It's quite scientifically structured what we're doing. We're pressing your buttons to get you to your why, because your why, when you keep thinking about your why, will get you over that day when you're sitting there watching Procrastination Street, when you're sitting there watching Dead Enders, sitting in the settee going, well, there's a few bits and pieces, there's some emails I should be sending, I should be booking appointments, I should be sending out stuff to estate agents, I should be tweaking my leaflet. No, actually, I'll watch Procrastination Street. No, I've got this why, hang on. Actually, I actually want to get there, let's go and do it now. That's why we get you to press your own buttons with your why. One of the other things that I missed off that we're going to be doing on day 4 is what I call our advanced negotiation techniques. Has anyone ever been on any negotiation courses, or any training courses?
Sort of influencing type courses, but not direct negotiation, of course.
Okay. And it's all important. And what we're going to do is look at mirroring and matching. So if you're sitting there talking to someone, if there's a couple you're dealing with, we're actually going to be looking to see which one of them's the rapport leader. And we're going to go into rapport with the rapport leader. And then we're going to start with, people will only do deals with you when they like you. People will only go into rapport with you when they like you. The learning process starts with an unconscious incompetence. Okay? It means you don't know you don't know. You might be 2 or 3 years old and not realise you need to learn how to do up shoelaces. The second stage of learning is the conscious incompetence. It's the point where you now know that you don't know. And then the next stage is a conscious competence. So you can do your shoelaces up, but you just have to think about it. But how long do you have to keep doing your shoelaces up before you learn to do it unconsciously? This is the final stage of learning, the aspect of mastery, is the unconscious competence. And that normally comes with 10,000 hours of practice. Okay? So, who drives a car? And who can remember a day when you drove home from the office or from wherever for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however long it takes you, you pull up outside your house and never once, you were in deep thought, and never once did you ever think about braking or steering or, yeah? Because you've got to that unconscious competence, you can do it without thinking. It's kind of Ian sometimes says, where'd you come up with these ideas for all these deals? And it's like totally being engrossed in this business all the time. It just becomes an unconscious competence that just kind of, you think it appears. Just like when you're driving home. Okay? So that's the stages of learning anything new. And has anyone read Matthew Said's book, Bounce? Or Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliners? Okay. Now, what it is, it's all about, can you learn to do something? Or are there natural experts? Are there actually people that are just good at it? So like professional footballers, did they all become good at football from practice, or was it something they were born with? And so they looked into that, and the bottom line is that Matthew Side was a British table tennis champion, and he looked into it, and several different stories I'm going to share. One of the ones that sticks out in my mind is the Olympic marathon runners. Most of the winners of all the major marathons come from where? Kenya and Ethiopia. Yeah? Okay. So they went, okay, well, must be something going on. Yeah, must be something going on here. Is it something they're eating? Is it in the genes? Yeah? And they discussed it. They found out that all of them all came from the same region in Kenya or the same region in the other country. So they're like, oh, maybe it's like in the genes. And then they looked at it and they looked at habit. Now, when the athletes go training, they go altitude training, don't they? Because that puts more, whatever it is, more white bloods into the blood cells. Now, what actually happened is these people that were winning all these medals actually turned out that, without exception, all of them, as kids, ran to school 5-10 miles every day and ran home. And while they were doing that at high altitude, all of their lungs are about 1.5 times normal size. So what chance does anybody stand who hasn't practiced and practiced, but that practice has created their lungs to grow bigger? And then they looked at, and this is probably the one that stands out the most, a university with musicians. Okay? And they classified all of the students into 4 groups. Solo concert performers, down to concert performers, down to 4 levels. And they looked at it and analysed every single one, and without exception, the people in the top category, and I can't remember the exact amount of hours, but had practiced for 40 hours every week for the last however many years. The ones in the second group had practiced for 30 hours every week for however many years, and the ones in the second group up had practiced for 20 hours, and it's not quite them exact numbers, but that's, so can you see that the practice of it has made them better, and the more time they spend practicing, and it's the same with anything, it's the same with property investing, anything, the more you do it, the better you get. Okay? The more ideas you have. If you want to play poker, you need to understand the rules properly. Within property investing, within the legal framework, the best thing about it is not only can we play poker, but we can change the rules to suit ourselves, as long as they work within the legal parameters. But you've really got to understand the rules to be able to adapt and change them. Okay? And then when you can do that, you have so much fun. And you just end up getting wealthier and wealthier out of it. So, where was we?
Okay, so summary-wise is be able to choose how I spend my time
So
through a passive
income. Do you want to say that again?
Okay, so I'll go into the story part.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So fast forward 12 months from today, April next year. I've just come back from my last day of work, having served my notice. I've quit work because over the last 12 months I've done some property deals, secured some rental properties, so that I'm at about 4k a month, which is enough for me to go full time and dedicate some full time into the property business. So fast forward another 12 months, I've secured a nice portfolio of rental properties, done 2 or 3 quite nice size flips, so that it's around 10k a month. This means I'm able to spend more time with the family, we take more holidays together, we're able to spend some time during the week.
Okay, so where are these holidays?
In the summer, they're in Barbados. We do winter holidays in Whistler. Fast forward another 12 months, so this is April 2017. This is now a serious business. We've got a development company that does some fairly substantial properties in the Oxfordshire area, and there's the rental portfolio concentrating in the Midlands. I have an actual team of people working now, so I spend less and less time actually involved in the deals. I spend my time talking with lots of high net worth people and building network opportunities. And then fast forward another 12 months, this is some fairly substantial time now where I'm dealing with London, central London buildings. We have a villa of our own on the west coast of Barbados, and we have a chalet actually in Whistler, outright owned. The business is turning over 100k a month, and that's kind of the pinnacle.
Okay, do we believe him? Yes. Very good so far today. Okay. Before we move on, let's just look at that. So mixing with high net worth people. Okay? It's very important to understand that we are the average of the 5 people we mix with most. Okay? We are the average of the 5 people we mix with most. So if you're hanging out with people that are on the dole, most people that are on the dole hang out with other people on the dole, yeah? Okay. If you hang out with Richard Branson and Bill Gates, what might happen to your head? Because, you know, to do a lot of this stuff, if that's your comfort zone, okay, which is also your reality zone, because if you've done something before, it becomes a lot easier. Yeah, if you're in your comfort zone, and we shared earlier on, didn't we, that there's no growth in your comfort zone. It's only when you start doing something a little bit outside of the comfort zone do we start to grow. Okay. Now, if you're mixing with other people that are all round here, the chances are when you start talking about going out there, they're all going to go, oh, you don't want to do that. That's uncomfortable. Or you don't want to do that. Or worse, that's a waste of time, that's a waste of effort, that'll never work, that won't happen. Okay? Just imagine you were mixing with people who were doing this all the time, so that you're in this zone and you're over here, you get pulled into it, don't you? And it's kind of when you meet up in groups like this where everybody's investors and everybody's investing in property, and you go, oh yeah, I bought these couple of properties a few weeks ago and I'm looking at buying these other 2, and the people you talk to go, oh yeah, how are you going to do that, blah blah blah. And the people that you mix with, what happens as you get wealthier and wealthier, your friends change. There's some very strange stuff goes on with people you think are your friends when you start making it. They do treat you different. And some of them will grow with you, and some of them you'll have to leave behind because they start turning rather bitter and all sorts of stuff. It's weird. Okay? But the comfort zone. So, if we met Donald Trump and he said, oh, by the way, do you want a JV with me on this development project, you might feel a bit more comfortable about it because you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing. But if he turned around and says, oh, why don't you do that? Build, you know, buy that, take an option on all that land and that over there, them 200 acres, take an option out on it, and get planning to build like a 20-storey skyscraper and do this and do this and do, you'll be going, oh my God, right out of the comfort zone. Once you've done it a couple of times, you grow into it, don't you? And then you can do it again and again and again. And it's the conversation we have quite regularly about comfort zones and Stuart.
Oh yeah. It's my 35th birthday tomorrow. A few years ago, I wasn't happy in the job I was doing. I got the chance to, I got a fantastic opportunity to come to do this course. I learnt a lot doing it. Within 3 months of doing it, I'd actually raised enough finance to start my own venture. 6 months later, I managed to sell that property for a slight profit, of which I brought a new, bigger property. 18 months after that, I now have 5 houses. Maybe more coming up, don't know.
Do you want there to be more?
I'm looking at the moment for more properties, both at home and abroad in France. It's probably the best thing I did because it gave me the financial freedom. It gave me more time to pursue other hobbies and interests. It just made me a lot happier, you know, with myself and how things were going. So,
okay.
No,
So has your why changed? What's your why now?
It's just the career change that I wanted.
Okay, so you've done that.
I've done that.
What's your why now?
To build a bigger portfolio, to get my monthly income up to 100k.
Why?
I probably, once I've got a bit more, or I've got £1 million saved in my bank account, I might want to try and do something else besides property.
You might want. You're not sure what?
No, not at the moment. No, I think I'm looking just to build on what I'm doing at the minute and see what happens in the future.
Okay, and what if you were just to think anything was possible, what would it be?
I don't know. It's starting to get a bit hot and sweaty. Everybody's looking at me. So.
Or is it because we're making you think about what you actually want?
Yeah, probably.
Because sometimes it's scary to dare to dream it.
Yeah.
And you've kind of not given me anything.
No. I don't know. Maybe invest in favourite football club or something like that. You never know.
So you're kind of looking at taking the cash out of property, doing something else?
Maybe, yes. Yes. Probably still keeping within, property as well, but maybe using the cash I've made to go into something different.
Okay. What would that give you?
I suppose just new experiences, new leads on stuff. I don't know.
So it's not so much for the cash you're doing it?
It is, everybody needs the cash.
I know you say a comfort zone thing, you're just out of it, aren't you?
Yeah. It is the cash, but it's just doing something different with it all, trying other things, not just staying in that comfort zone all the time. You get to the property I've got now, probably start something different after.
Okay. What would you do out of business? So, personally?
I'd love to go, I'm going to go travelling once I've got
Right, okay, so now we're getting there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you've not mentioned that.
No, I'd definitely like to go travelling. I like to get into a bit more extreme sports and that. I did a skydive a few years ago. Absolutely loved it. Watched videos of the wingsuit base jumping. I don't know, maybe I'd like to try a bit of that when I'm older. Who knows?
So who's the best person to talk to about sky jumping if you want to take up sky jumping? Somebody who's done it.
No.
Yeah. You wouldn't go and have a conversation with somebody who hasn't done it. Yeah, what do you think about skydiving? Who's not done skydiving? So Sophie, what do you think about skydiving? I'm here going skydiving. What do you?
I'm terrified. I can't see the logic of jumping out of bed.
So if I'm having that conversation, and if I go and Stu, what do you think of skydiving? So if I'm sitting in a pub with one person or sitting in another, why am I? Can you see? The point I'm trying to make is that you are who you mix with, and you'll end up doing what the people in the group you mix with successfully. Allow you to think, where do you want to travel? Where would be your list of stuff, places?
I'd first start off Europe, through Asia, Africa, Australia, through all North, South America, and probably back home.
Go and come back, go and come back.
No,
or
I'd like
to
do, and just go around the world until I've seen everything that I want to see, you know, maybe more, and then come back home, maybe settle down a bit. Who knows, or maybe go off and do it all again.
Okay. So all the places you want to go, get pictures of and put them in that folder. Just feel it. And then next time you talk about it, you won't be going.
Send him. If he sends him to else, you make him up my right mind. Yeah, if you get a group of pictures together, email them to melanie@glenarmstrong.com and I'll get your picture up on the wall as well. Right, so the next time you come, you've got it.
All right, thank you.
It's so important to get this part of the day nailed, get your why really strong, because it's the compass that's going to carry you through when it gets tough. And it's the difference that makes a difference for me, in my experience, getting clear on my why. Because the first time I was really scared to dream big. I come from a very small background, and the conversations I was having was about my mum saved 27 pence on an Asda coupon, or my brother's a welder on 25 grand, moaning about how he can't buy socks for his daughter. And I'm constantly exposed to that. And so I've changed the people who I hang out with, and you know, hanging out with Glenn and the mastermind group of everyone who's making it real and making it possible has been transformative for me, and my dreams have changed. I was really scared to dream big. The first time I actually was too scared to dream that I could even have that Lexus. And now I drive it and I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think the worrying thing is you took my other car out as well, didn't you?
Now that's the problem. What, is it the 430? The Ferrari 430? Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's insane. I'm too scared to actually drive it, like, properly. And then said, right, floor it. And
you were afraid of your neck.
yeah, and I was driving it like driving Miss Daisy, and I'm like, hang on, I'm in my friend's Ferrari 430, I'm in the driving seat, hello. But yeah, that's cool.
Hi, I'm Emilio. Examples today were especially powerful for me because many times in my life I reached big goals and then I felt some emptiness. My goals were not in sports, they were in music, like the second example. And yes, I was practicing about 50 plus hours per week with the instrument, and I won a lot of competitions for classical guitar, made successful tours in over 25 countries, founded classes of classical guitar in music academies in 4 countries, etc. But after every goal, I feel something else have to come. And when I married, I had an additional person to put goals, and most of them were financial goals. So, especially when my daughter was born 4 years ago and my wife fell ill, I became carer for my wife and my daughter, and all the cash finished rapidly. We switched to benefits. Then I started to turn to additional incomes, potential sources, and I happened to hear a presentation of Glenn, which was very inspiring because I never thought that I can start in property with these prices in UK, although my parents have portfolio in Bulgaria, where I'm originally from. So his presentation was life-changing for me, but I didn't have cash to join immediately what he was offering as masterclass, so it took me some time to start, about nearly 4 years waiting period, and now I just started. I have 2 HMOs, but I want to learn techniques to more rapidly expand, so I imagine myself in probably 1.5 years from now in a dream house for my family with a cash flow of £5,000 per month.
So
And
now
with a
say
lot
that
of
again, but
traveling.
say you're going to.
Sorry?
So just
This
not
is-
wish for it. Just say I'm going to have.
Okay. Yeah. I imagine myself.
No,
No.
no, you're going to.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's far more powerful.
Yes.
Because if you keep telling yourself, look, I imagine myself going to do this,
Mm.
okay, you're kind of letting yourself off. If you
Okay.
actually go in thinking
Okay.
yourself,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this,
I'm going to
your
this.
brain will start thinking of
Yeah.
ways of doing it. How you talk to yourself and how you talk to everybody is how you talk to yourself.
Okay.
It's very important to get the language patterns right, because if you communicate with your internal drivers correctly, from a psychological point of view, that will drive you forward in the right direction. Okay? If you waffle to yourself and use words that allow you to get off of stuff, you will keep waffling to yourself and you'll keep getting out of it. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, tell me what you're going to do.
So I'm going to have a cash flow of £5,000 per month. We are going to travel on nice holidays in exotic places. My wife
Where?
wants to, myself, I have visited many places, but I want to take my family this time.
Where are you taking
in
them?
India, Australia, Malaysia.
Okay. So get the pictures, put them in the folder.
I'll put the pictures
Put the
in a
pictures
folder.
of the
Yes.
portfolio that you are going to earn. Take pictures of them or get them off the internet and put them in your folder.
Okay.
And then play it as a slideshow. And then all the time the brain will be thinking of ways to make it happen. We'll give you that information.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. But it's important that reach and grasp and having something to aim for. As I find 90% of the fun of achieving it is not the actual getting it, it's the journey to get it. That's the pleasure I get. Yes, there's definitely pleasure at the end when you achieve it, but then it's what's next. What's next? What's possible? What can we do? Where do we want to go? What level do we really want to be at?
Hi, I'm Eddie. My why is I want to change mine and my family's lives for the better. And I want to do. I will. And I will do something that I can look back at and proud of. And I will be financially free. It's now 2019, and I'm looking back at 2014 in April when I went to a Glenn Armstrong course, and where I started out as a novice, didn't know anything at all, really to do with property, still live with my parents. I listened to Ian's story where it's quite similar to mine, where I wanted to dream big, but I didn't really have the confidence to do it or believe that I could do it. So I'm now in 2019, in 5 years' time. I'm asking my mum how proud she is of me and my dad, where she'd like to go on holiday, because she never gets to go on holiday. I'm driving my car that I've chose, probably an Audi R8, or maybe even an upgrade from the time, because that's my favourite car. And I'm driving past people that didn't believe in me. And similar with my dad. Asking him where he'd like to go, what he'd like to do. And there's no limit to where I want to go in that time, really.
How does that feel?
Feels good, feel proud.
Because you actually get to experience that feeling when you talk about it as it's happened.
Yeah.
It's like what we're doing is very, very scientific, okay? And to experience it, once you've experienced it, you want it more. And it drives you there.
Okay, I'm Rachna. It's 2019, 5 years from now. I've got a portfolio in the UK, sourced it out, found out where to buy. It's giving me a good monthly income of about 10k, and my time's mine. I'm free financially. I spend a couple of months a year doing things with MSF, Doctors Without Borders, UNICEF, just traveling and doing things like that. Other parts of my time I spend in pure luxury, in the Maldives, in Barbados, in island hopping around Australia. And then some of the time I'm home, I'm spending time with family and people that I care about, and spreading a little bit of my 10K that's coming in per month, where I think it's going to benefit other people and where I think it's going to make a difference. So yeah, and then from here, sky's the limit. Just going to keep going and keep exploring, and change with whatever life throws at me. But I have that financial freedom and that security that if anything happens to me medically or to my family, that I can support them and that I will not struggle with that.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's for you to be able to help the world and make a difference, you need money. Okay? And there's a certain aspect out there that thinks that's wrong. And you know, what's the money's the root of all evil and them type. Yeah, it's not money's the root of all evil. It's the love of money. Okay. If you can do good, or you want to do good with the cash, the more cash you've got, the more good you can do. So it's only right to go out and aim really, really high. Warren Buffett said, "I'm not going to give $100 to or $1 to charity now." When he was younger, he said, "Because for every dollar, I'm going to turn that over the next 10 years into $100, and then over the next 10 years, I'll turn that into $1,000, and when I've got the $1,000, I'll then give it to charity." So he had a plan. But to be able to give, you've got to earn yourself. So it's only right to go out and earn a lot of money so that you can then go and share it, and what I call share the love. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, I guess my reasons are financial freedom, holidays, be my own boss.
You guess they are?
Huh? No, they definitely are. So I see this time next year, I have a portfolio of properties. I spend approximately 6 months of the year abroad, traveling South America, and yeah, the remaining time I spend here looking after the portfolio that I have and aiming to grow it.
Okay. What's your why? Why do you want that?
Well, financial freedom, not having to report to anyone,
Yeah,
being your
I
own
get
boss.
that.
No, yeah, okay.
I get that.
All right.
But when you have financial freedom, what's that going to allow you to do? What's your
Travel,
why?
to travel,
Okay, where?
follow up, well, South America.
Okay.
Also pursue other ambitions, music, whatever else I want to do.
Okay. Specifically music-wise?
So I play piano at the moment. Just want to spend more time getting more fluent on that. Maybe learn another language. Spend some time on that. Just pursue other interests.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Tony. It's 2015. I've already helped my two daughters buy their homes to live in and buy to let investment each. I owed one of my brothers £85,000, which I've paid him back. I'm financially free with £10,000 a month. I go travelling around the world 3 times a year for about a month at a time. I like going to America, Maldives, Thailand, and the safaris.
Okay, that's very specific. Okay, so when it comes to kids, my son's just buying his 5th property. Okay, he is 21. There is ways that you can help them to grow a portfolio without them actually needing any cash. Would you like me to share that? Okay. So his first property was a shared ownership because that was easy to get. Because it's a very low deposit required. Okay. And it was fortunate that the shared ownership property is one of the few around here that will allow you to sublet. And we said to where we bought it from, or not where the people we bought it from, but the council who own the 70% share of it, we actually said, look, it's going to be going to university soon. Is it all right when he goes to university that he rents it out? And they went, yes, fine. I employed my son. Okay. So I employ my son, and I pay him, and I pay his PAYE. Now, officially, he has his expenses each week, and he has £80 spending money. He actually gets paid quite a bit more than that, but he's not allowed to spend it. It saves up for his deposits. Okay. However, when we bought his second property, and this is how we did it, I actually bought the property for 60 grand. So I had to put in a 25% deposit. Okay, and it cost me about 4k to do a refurb. Okay, I owned it for 6 months and then sold it to him. Now the reason we were able to do it is because I bought that cheap. Okay, I got a good deal. I sold it to him for 90, and someone give me 75% of 90. I think it's 67. Okay, so 67,000 is the mortgage that he took on it. Okay, now you're also allowed to do a parent gifted deposit. So basically I was able to gift him his deposit. So within the transaction, he pulled out 67, I paid back the 64 that it had cost me. The family, or he, owns a property that now hasn't cost us anything. Okay, and from a tax implication, what I've done for the deposit, the gifted deposit, it's supposed to be a gifted deposit, okay, but he still owes it to me, because from a security perspective, if he was in a position where he got married and he had 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 properties, what would happen if he got divorced? What's the chances of a divorce? It's 50-50, I think, now. Okay, so to preempt that and to guard against it, I take a charge out on the equity in his properties. But we do that through limited company, which at some stage can be handed to him. Okay, so it's important you can set these things up, and that's how we do it. We actually buy a property cheap enough, we cover it off ourselves, but then when we sell it to him, we recover all our money back. Okay, so you can just repeat that as many times as you. It's all about finding deals and recycling your cash.
You're recovering the money except the deposit.
Well, I can gift him the deposit. So, but when I sell that for 90, how much profit have I made? 26 odd grand profit I make when I sell it to him. Yeah. Okay. But I can leave him with that deposit. I can leave that with him. The profit I made, I can leave it with him. And if I actually put it through my accounts that I've lent, it's a loan, then I haven't actually made a profit. If you come to a situation where you want to do this, just talk to me and I'll tell you how to get around it, and I'll introduce you to our accountant who will make sure it's all done properly. Okay? But there's always ways around doing this stuff in the right way. Okay? But that way you can actually buy the kids, get them into investing in property without them actually needing any cash.
Yeah, it works on like buying below market value.
You've got to buy right. The secret in what we're doing is to buy right. You know, it's anybody, in fact we'll do that in a minute. I'm going to ask you what's the perfect investment.
My name's Steve. It's 2018 and my eldest daughter's just going to secondary school, and I've now reached the point where I can choose where I've chosen to be in place X, which I haven't decided on yet, and I'm generating £10,000 a month, which also goes to paying some of the properties off that I've bought and rent out. And I spend summertime in India and the rest of the time in Britain. And a big why is for my 2 daughters. Everything is for my 2 daughters, because I've achieved everything I want to do in terms of personal goals like travel and things like that. So everything's about getting a good education for my children and leaving them something behind, so that I can just spend time doing whatever I want to do.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to throw something out there now. When we talk about financial freedom, what is financial freedom? Is there a number to it? Financial freedom is that you are able to cover all of your bills out of your passive income. Okay? So, if you're living at home with your parents, the chances are your financial freedom figure will be somewhere around about £1,000 a month. because £1,000 a month will pay the mum and dad the bit that you pay them if they charge you, and it will pay for your car and going out. And that's it. Now, the biggest challenge is for the people that are unlucky enough to have gone to university. Unlucky enough to go on and got themselves a good job, and unlucky enough to saddle themselves with 100 grand a year income. Okay? Because when you're stuck with 100 grand a year income, you kind of live to that standard. You have your 5-bedroom house and your gate and your BMW and your Mercedes and your kids at private school. So to become financially free is a lot harder for somebody to cover off 100 grand a year income, and people live to their what they earn. So living at home is a brilliant opportunity to become financially free very early on. My son doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to at the moment, but eventually he's going to have to move out, I hope. And then when he does, his financial freedom figure will change. And he knows how many properties he needs to get and able to do it. But I'm not finding him anymore. I'm not buying him anymore. He's going to have to go and do. He knows how to do it now. What he needs to do is go and find some deals, and I'll buy them and sell them to him. I've done the bit of work where I've found some and sold them to him. Now he's got to go and do it. And I think it's important that we don't support them too heavily, because most of the unhappiest people in the world are the ones that have been given it on a plate. So there's a very happy medium between. How many pop stars' kids have we heard, or famous people's kids that are off the rails with drugs and stuff because they've got too much money and too much time and no goals?
I think one of the reasons I want my children to spend time in India is because they can appreciate the value of life, and I think we just take it for granted in this country a lot.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about the 10,000 hour rule, which was mentioned in Matthew Said's book, Bounce, and in other books. It's only valid if it's, like my father once said to me, that I've got 50 years driving experience, but all he had really was 1 year multiplied by 50 times. So if you're doing the same old things over and over again, the 10,000 hours isn't valid. So coming on a course like this is going to put you on the next level to making each of those hours count and progressing, rather than just regurgitating the same thing, which maybe I'm at the moment, and I need the inspiration to come here. And I think I need to get my why sorted out at the moment, because I don't have any end. I think I need to have more substance in my end goal, what I want to do, to get me, extra motivated at the moment.
So at the end of the 4 days, before we go, can we make sure that you've spent more time thinking about your why and you share it with everybody at the end?
Yep, will do.
I'll give you a couple of days to think about it. Yep. And it is very much about perfect practice, because learning to drive and driving around in a car around here, how good is that for practice if you want to do Formula 1 driving?
Not much good for driving in Bombay.
Hello, my name is Sophie. Okay, here are my goals. It is 2019, and I am now in control of my time. I do what I want. That is, I spend as much time with my family as they can stand. I have a house in London, and I take my family on skiing holidays in Switzerland every year, and have done for the past 2 years. I have a very profitable property business and a portfolio in the UK. And I have bought my family a holiday property in Goa.
How does that feel?
That's good, yeah. I will do it.
Oh, no, I totally understand that. Sophie does go and do what she says she's going to do. In fact, you've been with us before, haven't you, a couple of years ago. Do you want to share that story?
I came on Glenn's level 1 course in, I think, was it September 2011?
Yeah, it was a few years ago. Yeah.
Sort of like very half-half. Scared, nervous, property market crashing all around me. So after that course, we went out, and I was working full-time, of course, so I couldn't do it full-time. So we bought a property in Lincoln for 44,000. It was valued at 95 after we had refurbed it. So that was a straight profit of. We've also bought another property, so we have a rental income of that nets us £700 a month. We've got a third one, which we bought last year, that we bought cash down, which is now up for sale. If we let it out and remortgage it, that'll bring in another £400 a month. Yeah, so thanks to that course, level 1, we're sort of on our way. But now it's we're going to accelerate it because I lost my job. I was made redundant in January.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So yeah, so now it's like going all out. That's the idea.
Okay, thank you. Right. What is a perfect investment? What's the definition of a perfect investment?
Costs you nothing and pays you.
Something that you put no money into that pays you. Who would like a property that doesn't cost you anything that pays you? And once you've done one, would you like another one? And once you've got another one, would you like some more? And why would you stop? So, has anyone got any properties with Mortgage Express? Any mortgages with Mortgage Express? Did you do the same day refinancing model? That's what we taught when you came. Okay. Mortgage Express, well, let me go back. I had 120 grand when I started in property. I bought 6 properties, put my deposits in. I bought them all very well. I bought 6 properties, run out of money. So what I'd done is I'd swapped my 120 grand for 6 lots of 200 quid. So I swapped 120 grand for £1,200 a month. Now, if I had a huge amount of cash, that would have allowed me to swap my money for enough cash flow to be worthwhile. So I thought, what's this all about? What's this investing stuff where you put 20, 25, 30 grand in every property and swap it for 200 quid a month? That's kind of traditional investing, isn't it? And I call that speculating, because you're kind of keeping your fingers crossed that interest rates won't go up, and you're kind of keeping your fingers crossed that the value of the properties will go up. For me, it's all about recycling your cash. So I said to my solicitors back then, I said, look, I've got these, they're on early redemption penalties, so I know I'm going to have to pay to get out of them, but can I remortgage these properties and go and buy some more? And they said, no, you can't remortgage anything until you've owned it for 6 months. So I said, why? They said, because the building societies won't let you. And then I said, well, look, can you go through every single building society's contract and see if any of them might be different? And the sister said, well, that's not going to be. I said, well, can you go through all the contracts? I'll pay you to go through all the contracts and see if anything's different. It cost me about 3 grand. Okay, they'd used one of the junior barristers, trainee solicitors. Yeah. So they did, and they solicitor phoned me up a few days later and said, Glenn, we found Birmingham Midshires. Birmingham Midshires will allow you to refinance your properties as soon as they're registered at Land Registry. I said, how long does it take to get them registered with Land Registry? They said about 4 to 8 weeks. So I said, are you telling me that I can refinance my properties 4 to 8 weeks' time? Yeah. So I thought, great, I'll remortgage them all now. And I can get my money all back out now because I bought them right. The secret is buying them right in this game. It's all about buying them right. Because buying them right, whatever method you do, will allow you to recycle your cash. So that meant, and I was able to start borrowing 20 grand lumps off of people secured on the 6 properties that I already own, to then allow me to buy a 7th and an 8th and a 9th property. And then when I refinanced them, providing I bought them right, I could then pay them back their 20 grand. So that,
You received investment.
so I had one person I was fortunate enough to meet who lent me 20 grand every time I bought a property, but secured on one of the other properties. Okay, because people aren't allowed to lend you on the property you're buying. Okay.
When you say you bought them right, what do you mean by that? You bought them in somewhere that
I bought them cheap. I bought them with sufficient below market value that when I did refinance them, I could get my 20 grand back to pay the person back who lent me the money. Challenge is, you never quite know in 8 weeks' time when you come to refinance them whether the surveyor's going to agree with you or agree with that you bought them cheap enough. But then we came across Mortgage Express. The solicitors phoned me up and said, Glenn, we've found a really good one here. I said, what's that? He said, Mortgage Express allow you to refinance the property the day you buy it. And I said, what? So if I had the cash, I can buy it cash and then they'll lend on it later. Okay. So how that worked is if I found a property that was worth 140,000.
Are we still talking then?
Then, yeah.
Not now.
Didn't say not now.
All right.
I'm talking about how Mortgage Express worked, okay? Let me just... So the trick became in being able to negotiate a deal where I could buy it for 100 grand. And then we started doing bridging on it so other people could do it. And I don't know, did we do the bridging on the one that you bought that in 2011? Or did you buy it cash and redo it?
2008.
2008, March 2008.
First one.
Actually, we didn't. We didn't actually.
You didn't do the same day?
We used bridging.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
Yes, we
okay.
did.
Okay. Thought you might have. Yeah. So, if I can find a house that I can buy for 100 grand and it's worth 140, what I would do, I would apply for a mortgage on the property. I'd apply to remortgage a property that I didn't yet own. Right? I'd actually apply to remortgage a property I didn't own. Now I remember, has anyone been to the Excel Property Investor Show? Okay, I'd got used to talking to groups of 20 or 30 people, and I got invited to speak at Excel into a room and there was 400 people in there. So I was quite nervous. Okay. And I stood up in front of 400 people and I said, so what I like to do is apply to buy a house, like actually put in to remortgage a property that I don't yet own. And somebody in the middle of the room stood up and said, excuse me, and 400 heads all turned around and went, you can't do that, that's illegal, I should know, I'm a solicitor. 400 heads. But answer that one, Glenn. I said, do you know what? I find this fascinating. I said, do you know most solicitors think the same as you? And I'd actually been fortunate enough where people that had been on my training course had gone to their solicitors and said, this is what Glenn said, and they'd go, no, you can't do that. And then they'd get their solicitors to ring me, insisting, look, Glenn will tell you how. So you get very condescending solicitors ringing up and going, yeah, look, I'm just ringing up to tell you you can't do this. Okay, so I'd answered that question quite a few times. So 400 heads turned back round to me, and I turned round and I said, you know what? 95% of solicitors think the same. And it's true, most building societies won't allow you to do that. However, if you go to Mortgage Express Terms and Conditions, page 4, section this, subsection this, that's where they actually say they're happy to do that. And if you want to ring them and ask, and they'll confirm that you can do that, you'll then become one of the 5% of solicitors who knows you can do it, and you can start doing it for your clients and earning a lot of money. Okay. So, and yes, there are still ways of being able to do it, which is, it's all about recycling our cash as fast as possible to build up as many cash flowing properties to give us the cash flow we want. So I could apply, and at the time I could borrow 85% of 140, which is 119. So how would you like to buy a house in the morning and 10 minutes later have a loan on it for 19 grand more than what you paid for it? So every time I bought a property, there's obviously costs involved, but every time I bought a property with these numbers, I would end up with about £15,000 in my pocket and a property that cash flowed £200-300 a month. Now how many of them would you like? Okay, because what I was able to do is go, okay, now I can do that, I can accelerate. And that's when I set myself a target of buying 52 properties in 52 weeks. And ended up not succeeding at that because I bought 52 properties in 48 weeks. And then we accelerated. And I actually got to 198 properties, I don't know, it might be 192 properties when Mortgage Express pulled. And the credit crunch had started to creep in. Mortgage Express pulled, and all the people that were doing this, a huge amount of them went, oh, actually, we can't do that anymore. But the solicitors phoned me the morning Mortgage Express pulled. One set of solicitors that acted for the vendors, they said, oh Glenn, it's been terrible. Mortgage Express pulled, what are we going to do? Now bearing in mind they were doing 200 mortgages a month for people that we were bridging. Okay? And the other set of solicitors that would act for the investors that had been on my training courses, they phoned me up and said, Glenn, they pulled it, what are we going to do? And I rang my accountant as well, and so I had the mortgage broker, 2 sets of solicitors and my accountant. I said, look, just come to my office at 12 o'clock and we'll brainstorm it and we'll come up with a way around it. And they said, well, have you got any ideas? I go, well, just let's wait till 12 o'clock. So I went and had a hot bath. Candles, bubbles. It's got to be a way of doing this. There's got to be a way of doing this. And then I went back and I said, look, how about we actually buy the house cash and then sell it on? You know, even if we buy it in a nominee name, and then sell it on the same day. Okay? Which Birmingham Midshires were quite happy to allow back-to-back transactions then. And we got authority and we got a specific underwriter that allowed us to do this. So we could still do exactly the same, it's just that we had to buy the property and then sell it rather than just borrow the money for it and then refinance it. So we got round it on the day that it got stopped, which allowed us just to carry on going, and then we didn't have any competition doing it because everybody else didn't know how to do it.
So Birmingham and Midshire are still doing it?
No. They stopped. You can only actually get 3 properties with Birmingham Midshires now. Okay, so if you're a couple, you're better off to get individual mortgages because you can get 6 then. If you get joint, you can only get 3. But you can get 3 each if you get them individually.
Even as man and wife?
Yeah. So that's important to utilise because BM are one of the only companies that do non-standard construction properties. So you use the 3 you've got for non-standard construction and you take 3 and your wife takes 3.
So you're saying they don't do, nobody does back-to-back purchases?
You can on commercial funding, you can do it, and then you hold it at a slightly higher interest rate for 6 months, and then you refinance it. But there's also safety things you need to do to make sure that the valuation in 6 months' time is going to value up. So there's processes we use to make sure you safety net yourself. So for me, a perfect investment is something that costs me nothing, that I put no money into or leave no money in, that gives me cash.
If you buy something in cash and then you want to sell it straight away, again, how do you do that? How do you turn that around that quickly?
Depends. We're doing it all the time. What do you mean? What's your question?
Because you know how you said you can buy it and sell it on the same day, pretty much. If you
Yeah, we used to buy it and sell it the same day.
Who are you selling it to? How do you sell it that quickly?
We'd sell it to ourselves. So we'd get a nominee person to buy it. So if you was, like at the time, my students, I would buy it in the morning and sell it to you in the afternoon. Yeah, and then my accountants would sort out the tax problem. And I'd have to pay tax on the 1,500 quid that we charged to facilitate it. It was interesting because when Mortgage Express, when they were at their peak, has anyone heard of Close Brothers? Well, Close Brothers decided they wanted to know why this little broker from Milton Keynes was doing 10 times the amount of the second biggest broker in the country. Okay? And so they went to speak with him and he said, oh, it's this, we're doing same day refinancing. So I got a nice £10,000 fee from the bank to help them set up same day refinancing. So it's weird when you go to Liverpool Street Station in one of these big ivory towers owned by Close Brothers, and you sit and they go, right, how can we do this, Glenn? And so what we did, I had the 2 sets of solicitors, did the contracts for them, and to test the waters, they gave me a 5 million facility to go and spend on property, okay, which was even better, doing the same thing where I could buy them and refinance them. And they had things in their contract like that if you're buying them on a sale and rent back, the tenancy agreement had to start a day after the sale went through. So they kind of covered their back on stuff. And then we launched it, and like all my clients started using them as well as Mortgage Express. Then a few years later they decided to sell their mortgage book to Mortgage Express because they saw the writing on the wall, what was going on, and they got out.
What are Mortgage Express able to do now?
Now that's Bradford and Bingley, and they're now owned by the government, by us,
Right.
and they are no longer.
Right.
Okay. However, there are lots of other ways of doing this stuff, and that's what we're going to be sharing with you over the next 4 days, is how to recycle your cash. Okay. Now, when you come to buy a property, how safe is property? Okay. Has anyone got any spouses or partners who aren't comfortable about you buying property? Yeah. Was you there? Did I share this with you? This, how to explain it to them?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Would you like to know the best way to persuade your other half that property is safe? Sorry.
Bring her over.
Bring her over. Bring her here. Yeah. No, this is the way you can go and explain to her. All right. In an area where there are 300 properties that are identical, so on a housing estate where all the properties were built identical, let's say the average price of the properties on that estate are 100 grand. Obviously they're all done up slightly inside, different, but outside they're all the same. They're all the same square footage. Would it make sense to you that if that's the average, the nice ones are worth 110 and the scruffy ones are worth 90? That makes sense? Okay. The skill in what we do is to be able to buy them at 70 and then borrow the money on 110 as soon as possible, or to buy at 70 and sell it. That's the skill. Where is the risk in buying a property for 70 in an area where they're average 100, and there's loads of proof out there by comparables that 110 is the actual value of the nice ones, and 90 is the value of the scruffy ones?
Partly against that bit, it's because I can't effectively explain the creative ways of recycling.
Okay.
She is just aware that you have to have a ton of money to put in, and then it's in. It's stuck.
Okay.
And she's saying we don't have tens of thousands of pounds to just chuck into property at the moment.
Okay.
And so part of why I'm on this is understanding all that creative ways.
Okay.
You know, she's a very bright lady, so she's not an idiot, but it's
Okay.
just she knows one way of how you buy property, and I haven't got the full finesse of explaining it, all the creative ways of getting it all back out.
Okay.
And this is what is going to be the goal.
Okay. And one of the ways is, look, chances are I can do this up, sell it for 110, make 20 grand profit. You know, and if there's another credit crunch, the worst thing I'm going to do is when it sells is break even. Or to recover our 70 grand in a way we show you, I think it's on day 3, how to, you know, there's different ways of doing it. Especially if you own a construction firm, it's even easier. Very easy then. Okay. So what we're going to do now is break for lunch, and when we come back after lunch we're going to look at the 8 different ways of making money. We're going to look at where it works. So we need to understand about areas and micro areas. So we'll kick off with that when we get back, and then we'll carry on. Okay.